Flashing strobe-like effect. That is the core's automated antenna, sending in excellent shape as it completes its fly-around. Is the Progress 35 cargo ship that is docked to the Russian Piers docking compartment. The 5 crew members will begin an extended sleep period at 2 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday morning.
ISS Moscow on space to ground 1.
Thank you, Gerst. It's good to hear your voice. It's great to have these guys on board. It completes the complement of Expedition 22.
Суд Москвы МКС. Как слышите нас? К работе готовы.
Russian cosmonauts are doing their civil duty by filling out census forms in zero gravity. Flight engineer Fyodor Yurchikhin will go down in history as the first person to twice dictate census data from space.
Это было чуть-чуть больше, чем 2 года назад.
Это было 8 лет тому назад.
Just like in 2002, the cosmonauts answered questions about their date of birth, ethnicity, and education. In this rare case, information deemed confidential under the census law is made public.
Какими иными языками вы владеете?
Английским, в некоторой степени греческим.
The cosmonauts answer each question with a delay of several seconds because the ISS is flying 360 kilometers above the ground. State borders extend to an altitude of 100 kilometers. The cosmonauts who are flying at a higher altitude and outside state jurisdiction will take part in the census inside the space station's Russian segment. The astronauts talked to census takers for just over 30 minutes and answered 25 questions while the ISS travelled from Madagascar to Kamchatka. Rosstat will receive the remaining information in writing after special forms are delivered to Earth. Rosstat will also request that the Guinness World Records list Fyodor Yurchikhin as the only man who has taken part in 2 orbital censuses.
It's difficult to see here, but you can just make out flight engineer Mikhail Kornienko moving out of the hatch of the Piers in the center of the screen.
Okay, I've just pulled it out. And done. Let me install it myself. Yes, definitely. Okay, this is going to be more convenient. That's right.
Seeing a better view now of the Piers docking compartment with Mikhail Kornienko now on the outside of it, soon to follow.
Yes, exactly. And then you can try it and install it. All right, yes, here we go.
And here is flight engineer Fyodor Yurchikhin making his way out of the Piers docking compartment to join Mikhail Kornienko. Kornienko currently on the right-hand side of the screen. Again, both spacewalkers are wearing suits marked with blue stripes, so it's going to be difficult to keep them apart tonight. Lead spacewalker Fyodor Yurchikhin is leading the way here, followed by flight engineer Mikhail Kornienko.
We have 20 minutes remaining until the eclipse starts. Copy. Yes, in the area of the thrusters, it is so dirty, unimaginably so. Please be careful in this area. Please pass by, around. Please try to translate feet up away from the thrusters. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. Copy.
Russia's Soyuz TMA-05M spacecraft docked with the International Space Station on Tuesday. Members of the new crew, including Russian cosmonaut Yuri Malenchenko, NASA astronaut Sunita Williams and Japan Space Agency or JAXA astronaut Akihito Hoshide, will spend more than 4 months on board the ISS and are expected to conduct over 30 scientific missions. For Malenchenko, this is his 5th long-duration spaceflight. Williams and Hoshide visited the ISS once each, travelling on board a US space shuttle. It is their first flight experience with a Soyuz spacecraft. Spacewalking astronauts on Wednesday successfully removed a broken coolant system in an effort to restore normal operations at the International Space Station. It was the second spacewalk in 5 days for Douglas Whirlock and Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Their previous spacewalking bid to restore full cooling to the orbiting lab last weekend was foiled by a large ammonia leak. This time, to everyone's relief, there was no burst of ammonia from the jammed connector. Whirlock relied on brute force to remove a bulky ammonia line from a broken pump, yanking the connector back and forth for several seconds before it popped out of the failed pump, which could not be removed until the last hose was unhooked. She shook so hard with her gloved hands that the TV images beamed down from a helmet camera were bumpy and full of static. The space station has been operating with only half of its usual cooling capability ever since the ammonia coolant pump failed a week and a half ago. Finally, nearly 6 hours into the spacewalk, Whirlock removed the faulty pump system from the position along the main truss of the International Space Station. Science research is on hold and unnecessary equipment is offline until the pump will be replaced. A repair job that is considered one of the most challenging in the 12-year history of the orbiting lab. The cooling system is crucial for keeping electronics from overheating. NASA wants the second line up and running again as soon as possible, in case the first one ends up broken too. That would leave the orbiting lab in a precarious position with only a limited amount of time for emergency repairs before the crew would have to abandon ship. Currently, there are 3 Americans and 3 Russians on board. Their safety has not been jeopardized by the cooling system trouble, and their comfort has not been compromised as they work and live 220 miles, that's 335 kilometers, above the Earth. A Russian-made Soyuz craft carrying 3 astronauts docked with the International Space Station, putting the crew in place for the imminent arrival of the first ever privately owned cargo ship to the orbiting lab. The Soyuz eased into position on Thursday morning Moscow time over the Mongolian-Kazakh border, after a 2-day trip that began with the launch from the Russian-leased Baikonur Cosmodrome in southern Kazakhstan. NASA astronaut Joseph Akaba and Russian cosmonauts Gennady Padalka and Sergei Revin are set for a 4.5-month stay in space. Their arrival comes just 2 days ahead of the planned launch of the privately owned SpaceX Dragon capsule from Cape Canaveral, Florida. The ISS crew gathered for a video conference with their families and ground controllers soon after the hatches were opened. Akaba was wished a happy birthday and was reminded by Mission Control not to light any candles.
To Joe, also happy birthday. I hope all your dreams come true. And on behalf of the life support specialists and the control centers around the world, we hope you do not use any birthday candles today.
The space station is currently occupied by Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko, NASA astronaut Don Petit, and Holland's Andrei Kuipers.
Okay, Steve-O, if you can just put that back in the pouch.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Okay, no hurry. Take your time.
Yep, that looks good. Okay.
A-Firm, Swanee gave us all the inhibits are in place.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see close to the dish. Great. Tell me when I'm in a good spot. You know what? You're pretty good right there. I'm going to stop right there then. Okay. Ears, let me just make sure we're all clear.
Don't worry about where the commander and pilot sit.
I was looking right at that window.
You're looking good. If I can get a camera on you.
Top of your ear.
Yeah, we were promised, obviously, get our connector out of there, but we were promised that other one was fine. You can do whatever. It cannot interfere.
Right, I see it. It looks like you just batted down in the hole a little bit, and it'll be fine once that connector is clear. All right, let me get myself in a good spot here. Yep, no problem. Take your time, dude. Feet. Well, you know, forward or forward, I'm happy. Go ahead. Do what you need to do.
And Garrett, stand by 1 second.
Okay.
Three hours into the spacewalk, we have confirmation from Garrett Reisman that the dish is free. It's unbolted from its carrier panel. This is on the integrated cargo carrier.
Got his right angle drive ready for him. I don't know what else I can do.
The International Space Station has a new room and observation deck. Astronauts connected the room named Tranquility to the space station early on Friday. The astronauts watched as the 23-foot-long chamber was moved into place by a giant robotic arm. Spacewalkers Robert Bacon and Nicholas Patrick are expected to hook up the power and data cables later on Friday, and will tackle the plumbing during the second spacewalk Saturday night. The heavy lifting was going to fall to the astronauts inside, who are operating the space station's robotic arm. The job of installing Tranquility is so big and complicated, it will require 3 spacewalks. Tranquility sports a large bay window. Space Shuttle Endeavour delivered the new compartments this week. The new room represents $400 million in home improvements. The domed lookout with its 7 windows, including the largest ever sent into space, has greatly excited astronauts over the anticipated views of Earth. The dome, which resembles a bay window 5 feet deep and nearly 10 feet in diameter, will be moved into its final location on Tranquility next week. Only then will the window shutters be unlocked and raised. The central window is a circle 31 inches across. The 6 surrounding windows are smaller and shaped like trapezoids. NASA readily acknowledges the observation deck and its panoramic views will improve the quality of life aboard the orbiting Outpost, where astronauts spend 6 months at a stretch. The Italian-designed Tranquility and dome will leave the space station 98% complete, with a mass of nearly 800,000 pounds. That's 363,000 kilograms. 4 other shuttle visits remain before the fleet is retired, primarily to stockpile spare station parts and supplies. NASA hopes to wrap everything up by the end of September this year. Discovery's astronauts took one final spacewalk at the International Space Station on Wednesday to get the Outpost squared away before the shuttle program ends. Discovery is headed into retirement after its flight, and only 2 more shuttle trips remain by Endeavour and then Atlantis. Spacewalker Alvin Drew quickly headed to a broken pump and drained the last bit of ammonia left in it to make sure it was safe for handling, in case its return to Earth on the last shuttle mission this summer. The toxic ammonia coolant was vented through a hose out to open space away from the 2 spacewalkers. It took just 2 minutes to empty the pump. Drew was invigorated and working so fast that Mission Control cautioned him, barely an hour into the spacewalk, to slow down. Drew and his colleague Stephen Bowen whittled down the entire to-do list, installing a railcar light and an outdoor robot camera. They also removed an experiment platform and some insulation. It was a hodgepodge of relatively minor jobs that will leave the orbiting lab in the best possible condition once the space shuttle stops flying. They paused to snap pictures of NASA's launch site as the shuttle station complex sailed 222 miles above Cape Canaveral. Discovery will remain at the space station until Sunday. The shuttle astronauts are staying an extra day to help outfit the new storage room installed Tuesday. There's a possibility that yet another bonus day might be added, which would stretch the mission to 13 days.
Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute. Its voyage at an end.
Take this opportunity to congratulate you, Atlantis, as well as the thousands of passionate individuals across this great spacefaring nation who truly empower.
3, 2, 1. Liftoff of the Soyuz TMA-22 with Dan Burbank, Anton Shakakarov, and Anatoly Ivanishin as they head toward the International Space Station due for a rendezvous and docking on Tuesday. All systems nominal. The Russian ground team there just outside of Moscow continues to monitor all the systems.
Stage 2 thrusters operating nominally.